Hi, I'm Roxanne Glosser, Content Director here at whirlidurb, and I want to welcome you to one of our Content Connections interviews, where I'm talking with educators from zoos, museums, cultural institutions, research facilities throughout the U.S., Canada, Australia, kind of worldwide, to find out how they're using technology to support their educational initiatives and outreach programs. And I tell you what, I am very excited today. We have with us Commander Kathleen Frank, who is Assistant Director of E-Mission Programs at the Challenger Learning Center in Wheeling, West Virginia. Good morning, Commander Frank.
Good morning, Roxanne. We're happy to be here.
All right, well, I am excited because I've connected to a lot of different people, and I think I get really excited about what you guys are doing there. So would you just tell us a little bit about the Challenger Learning Center and what you do? What is your role there, Commander Frank?
Well, the Challenger Learning Center was, it's basically a good story in that we took a tragedy, of course the Challenger disaster that happened back in 1986, where that Challenger crew was lost on that fateful mission, and we're trying to turn it into a triumph, some way to try and make the mission objectives from that fatal mission, if you will, turn into something very good for the future. Of course, we had our teacher in space, Krista McCullough, on board. Her objective there was to teach from space using video conference, right? To get right into those classrooms, those middle school students, to inspire another generation of lifelong learners. Unfortunately, that mission did fail in a disaster of sorts, but the bereaved family members of the Challenger crew got together in the living room of one of the family members and tried to come up with a way to perpetuate the mission of the Challenger for the future. So therein, the Challenger Consortium was created. We're one of 48 Challenger Learning Centers across the state and the world now, and our mission is the same. You know, Krista McCullough's tagline is, "I touch the future, I teach." That's pretty much what we're doing here too. In addition to that, we help and support teachers through this process of trying to transform classrooms for lifelong learning. So that's basically what we do. That's the big overall picture, Roxanne.
That is, you know, I knew a little bit of that story. I didn't know the whole one. What a wonderful tribute. And 48 centers worldwide, you said?
Yes, there are currently 48 active centers, and there's more coming on board all the time. So it has been a long time, and it's a perpetuated mission. It's not going anywhere soon. So we look for the future too, to continue to make a big impact in changing these learning environments in the classroom, because that's what's needed now.
Oh, that is fantastic. Well, so that's a little background of the Challenger Learning Centers. Now, I have looked on your website, and just a little full disclosure, I have actually connected in with you for one of those teacher demos that you do with Operation Montserrat, which are amazing. But, you know, some of the people watching our video might not know about that. So you are known for e-missions, and now I saw you have e-labs that have come out. So talk to, pretend I'm like a classroom teacher. I see your website and I'm thinking, okay, so I'm going to connect in. This is video conference. You know, I Skype with my husband when he travels. I FaceTime with the grandkids. So, you know, I know a little bit about that. But when I connect to you, is it like are we watching videos that were shot in space? Or, you know, what would I do as a classroom teacher? What would my kids be doing? What could I expect if I connect in with you?
Well, when a teacher engages in an e-mission or an e-lab with us, first and foremost what we provide to them is teacher training. This free teacher training that we provide is very hands-on. They connect with us, again, via video conference. We give them an overview of the program. We go over the lesson plans, the materials, the curriculum that we provide online so that they can get those resources and get to them quickly. And we also participate in a very hands-on session, just the way we will with the students, with our teachers, so they can see firsthand how this is all going to play out on Mission Day. So there is no stress for our adults, if you will. Now, what happens for the students on Mission Day is that the classroom literally transforms into an emergency response team of sorts. We use this team-based concept where you've got working hubs on different teams with different mission objectives. The students now are totally responsible for the mission. So we have switched the classroom roles, if you will. It's no longer the teacher up at the front of the room imparting their knowledge, if you will. It's now the responsibility of the students. That's placed squarely on their shoulders. That's where the responsibility for the learning belongs. So they are the ones that are responsible for getting the information to us and working collaboratively with us throughout the simulation. Now, the simulations are all based on a crisis of one order or another. So we're always dealing with disasters, life-threatening situations, something that the students need to apply their math skills, use their science background or knowledge to actually solve the problem or avert the crisis, save lives, if you will. This is a very intimate experience for these students to participate with us in this way. And the way we do it is we drive data into their team computers at a time-paced interval. And it's a very stressful pace, if you will, because we've realized that students need that these days. They need this push. And they need to respond. They need to prepare those calculations, prepare graphs, interpret the graphs, but we even take it a higher level of learning and we ask them to respond with solutions, recommendations, things that they can provide to us so that we can help solve these problems in the simulated environment. This goes on for the entire video conference until we actually solve the problem. Of course, mission success is assured because failure is not an option here at the Challenger Learning Center, and all missions end successfully.
Okay, now a couple questions. You were saying that you drive data into the classroom. So let me recap, make sure I'm understanding this. So mission day, there's a crisis. So it's going to be the responsibility of the class to solve this crisis. And so they're in their little teams. And so you're connected in through video conference, and you say you drive data to the teams. How does that happen? Are they like to an iPad or tablet device, or how does that work?
Well, we have created student flight director interfaces where they sign on using a mission password, we sign on, and we're able to communicate via this interface that we've created. Now, we can drive data, we can receive data, we can send messages, we can receive messages. So it's an alternate platform, if you will, for communication. So what we try to do is use the video conferencing technology to make sure that we're communicating, bidirectionally, audio and video for sure. What we're also using this platform is to send information, to receive information, and to communicate also on an alternate platform. Because what's going on in the simulations typically are intense. There are a lot of things going on at the same time. So if you can imagine, one life support team is over here handling a situation. Our volcano team is over here. Our radiation team, for example, is in another location, providing expert information. It's got to be happening quick. It's got to be happening in real time. So this is why reaching the students face-to-face, interacting with them in this ongoing fashion, every 5 or 6 minutes there's something going on, really helps inspire them to learn more.
Okay, I have done this with teachers, and I must tell you, it is a wee bit stressful. And just hearing you describe it, it really is. It's the feeling I would describe. It must be like to be at that emergency hub. When a crisis happens, and you're in not the war room, but where everything's coming in, that command central. How long are these video conferences?
They vary depending on which mission scenario you select. We have Storm E, which is a 1-hour video conference. All others are at least 90 minutes, with Operation Montserrat being a 2-hour video conference. Now, you think that's a long time to stay connected with the classroom, but it's not. We do student surveys, and then we ask them, what would you change about the mission if you had an opportunity to change? And 90% of the time, the students are saying, change nothing or make it longer. Now, we're giggling over here at the Challenger Learning Center because, of course, we've been driving math, the stuff they don't want to do, into the classroom every 5 or 6 minutes, asking them to perform. And they are really, they come out of the mission after 2 hours with us saying they want more. So we really feel like we've got something here in terms of the method to use to reach these classrooms.
Nice, very nice. Now that actually leads me into my next question, because you actually shared some research with me a few years ago about the flow state, and I'm starting to see that pop up again. I do a lot of reading about creativity, and people, as they are the very creative people, they talk about that flow state. We hear athletes talk about a flow state. And that sounds like with that Operation Montserrat, with 90% of the students wanting it to be longer, I think that represents flow state there. So expand a little bit. What is it about that real time Video conference connection, because I know there are some projects out there that do the online piece without the synchronous, to where each class works kind of independently at their own time. We don't need to be in the same place at the same time. What is it about that two-way interactive video? What does that add to these missions and to student learning?
It adds serious depth. And you can't really get into flow if you don't have this depth. For example, I'm not saying that type of learning, the online learning, is bad. Of course, that's good. We need to do that. But when you want to get that, it was described to me what flow was when the actual originator of the research here that used our programs, the Mission Operation Montserrat, to describe or to kind of evaluate the mission to see if the students were reaching flow. She described it as, for example, if a surgeon is in the middle of his surgery theater and he has to use all of his background knowledge, all of his learning through medical school, all of his practical experiences, and all of his collaboration with everyone in that theater, and they are all together on one mission, that's to save that life on that operating table. The roof could fall down around them, and they wouldn't even notice because they were in flow, which is a serious place for satisfaction, for learning. This is when you're pulling all of the good things that you know and putting them to such a good, useful purpose. And this is what's happening in our missions. They reach flow midway through their mission because they're using all their background knowledge, all their skills. They're bringing all of their gifts and talents to the table and exercising them. This is where students become lifelong learners, is when they exercise these skills, these techniques. And that's basically what's happening in the missions, and that's why it happens.
Okay, that is nice, because that's a great way to translate research into a story that we can remember. So I'll definitely remember that. And you would definitely want your surgeon into a flow state.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that you mentioned that to expand about, you mentioned math and science, and students are applying their math and science and their background in that. I noticed just with the teachers that, and I told them that it was going to be math and science applied, they had to use so much more, because I know with Montserrat, they were forgetting just basic things of, like, to notify the people that it was coming, some basic communication things. So what other skills do you notice? I know the STEM skills all over this, but additional include soft skills or other content skills?
Absolutely. We're not going to deny that we're very robust in the math and science, or what we consider the STEM areas, the subject areas. But in addition to that, we're very much across the curriculum. We are driving language arts into every single thing that we do. For example, there's an application and a resume process at the front end where the students can actually apply for a position on this emergency response team and become accepted. So that's a life skill that's very important, I feel, for the future for them. In addition to that, when they're actually in the video conference with us, they're not just sending us the data reports or, showing us the graphs they're interpreting them and standing up on their feet and sharing it with us. So as an instructor or as a teacher, it's one thing. It's one level of learning to know something, read it, interests me, I like it. It's another thing to share it with another and teach them. And this is where they get a really deep understanding of what they're doing, and I think a longer retention time. This is why our programs are all based on standards. We know teachers don't have another second to do some fun field trip with us. We get it. So they are all aligned with state and national standards, and we're hitting them hard. But what we're doing is doing it in such a manner that the students don't even realize that that's what's happening, that we're hitting those standards. For example, we have a fire scene investigation mission based on statistics where they're analyzing using a fire scene simulator. Every few minutes they are running statistics to try and determine the source of the fire. Box and whisker graphs, aligning it with those baseline readings so that they can compare. We're doing a lot of really rich stuff here. And this is why they're getting it, and that's why they're in that flow, if you will, is because they're applying it.
Okay, love that. I think that's a really good piece to make, because we can learn. We have so many ways that we can learn. We can get content, but it's really making sense of it and to apply it. And I know I've been talked to a lot of people in the science field. one of the things that it's great, I've heard people can hear is when students explain something, it makes visible some of those scientific misconceptions in a way that sometimes even if they get it right on a multiple choice test, you might not hear that thinking behind it. So have you encountered any of the scientific misconceptions in your programs?
Absolutely, and we're not addressing them as I'm the more important person. We're addressing them as a colleague. You know, when you get into the real world, usually it's a collaborative effort across the board, and this is the way we approach our students. We're working with them. They're the experts, giving us information. If it doesn't make sense to us or we got some skewed thinking going on, we challenge that. But of course, we're going to deliver consequences too. If they say, yes, I'm really convinced this is how it's going to happen, we let it happen. Because, you know, it's not a situation of all answers are correct, but all answers have consequences. So, for example, if they decide to ignore an increased CO2 level on our International Space Station, we're going to have an astronaut flipping out or having someone getting nausea or some sort of trauma or drama that's going to encourage them to rethink this bad thought, if you will, about the science behind it. So that's how we address it in a more collaborative way.
That's nice. And you mentioned with the consequences. Now, as we've been doing the interview here, I see you've got your nice, you know, it looks like Command Central there. How do you communicate to them? Like, how do the students get a sense of like the International Space Station or something like that? Do you just have like a picture you put up, or how do you create that immersive environment?
We have a variety of different ways. Certainly we send mission bulletins across this interface. We give them over the video conference, but we also send and drive video clips, if you will, of real situations in response to what they suggest or their recommendations. So, for example, if our radiation team on our Space Station Alpha mission is trying to save the astronauts from these increased levels of radiation, and they decide to make the recommendation to move those astronauts as far away from the radiation source as possible, which is, of course, applying that ALARA principle. We would go ahead and drive this video clip, for example, saying, congratulations, Operation Montrose, you have just done a great job. We're now moving the astronauts to the Destiny module as you recommended. Please keep me posted on what's going on with those radiation levels as we try to save these astronauts. So, of course, this is how we get this is how we infuse the drama, if you will. And this is ongoing. There are many video clips, various things that we show throughout the simulation so that they get a good taste or a flavor of what they're working with. So that's one way we kind of fool them, if you will. They know it's a simulation, but halfway through the mission, you can hear our data officers and our communications officer going, I think we're really connected now. So we have been fooling students since 1999, not in a bad way, but in a very fun way to help them learn a little bit better.
You know what? And that is a great way to learn, through kind of an expectation failure at sometimes, and that simulation, that game base, it just hooks them in. So now tell me, what kind of feedback are you getting? You told me the students who do Operation Montserrat say, don't change anything or make it longer. Other things you've heard from teachers or students?
Well, the teachers particularly, I just wanted to mention our new programs called the E-Labs. I put a survey out to over 8,000 teachers in our contacts database, asking them, what is it that we can help you with? We see ourselves as a content provider, not so that we can solve the problems that we see. They're in the trenches, if you will. So please respond to us and tell us what it is that you need. What came back was that they are struggling with all sorts of regulations, for example, in the labs. They're not allowed to have chemicals. I understand paper clips are now sometimes a safety hazard in some classrooms. So they're not allowed to use chemicals. They don't have lab time. They don't have the finance for the lab. And it came back that the subject areas that were most difficult to teach, there were 12 of them, they had some sort of inhibition about it. Maybe they weren't feeling so secure about it themselves, or the resources weren't available. So we designed these 12 new programs called E-Labs, where the classroom is connected directly with our lab. And we conduct programs based on what these teachers responded to us as the most difficult subject matter, which include, of course, physics, chemistry. Interestingly enough, we have a DNA E-Lab, which is a biology-based. Seasons, which I didn't understand why that was difficult, but some don't really like it maybe. But we have 12 new programs that use the same model that are in the eMission programs, use the same intricate interfaces, almost as if they're gaming with us on these interfaces, to help these students get these hard or difficult, I would say, to teach concepts under their belt. They're exciting. And what we're hearing back from the teachers, that it's not just helping the students. The teachers are learning new content too. If they felt they were a little bit hesitant about talking about Newton's law, for example, they now feel more comprehensive about it, experiencing the eLab with their students. So that's a double bonus in our mind here.
Okay, that is amazing. So the eLabs, are they shorter than the eMissions?
They are. They're 1 hour video conferences, which was another response. Certainly teachers don't have sometimes a 2 hour block with scheduling. They wanted it all encapsulated into a 1 hour video conference, but what we did also was provide pre-lab lesson plans, hands-on, engaging, and very appropriate to the actual video conference session, so that the instructors or the teachers could use these pre-lab to help give them the background information they need and prepare them for the actual video conference to maybe get the most out of that video conferencing time, if you will, since it was shorter. Additionally, we provided post-lesson plans as well so that they can further on and continue after the video conference session with us. It's a very comprehensive program, even though it's only 1 hour in actual video conference time.
Okay, that is fantastic. Now, talk to us about kind of nuts and bolts, how schools can connect to you, cost of the programs. I know the grade levels and specific programs we'll link on the website so they can see that. But just talking generalities about that, because I know sometimes people might confuse the Challenger Learning Centers with the NASA programming through the Digital Learning Network. I think sometimes there's a little confusion in that area. So give us the nuts and bolts.
Well, teachers, first of all, and administrators can connect with us for the free teacher trainings. We provide these trainings regardless of whether they schedule student sessions with us. Now, this is part of our mission statement, basically, if you will, to unconditionally love and support teachers, because we know they've got a tough job. So it's almost a retreat-like experience, Roxanne, if you will. They connect with us. We talk about the different things about the programs. We narrow our focus down to the specific one that they've selected, and then they get to participate fully in the session, just like the students will. So, of course, it's very intrinsically team-based. So if you wanted a session on a teacher in-service day, this is an ideal thing to do, because of course it's very team building for your staff, your teaching staff. They get to learn how to use video conferencing in a variety of different ways. They get to learn how to use other technologies that are cool ideas to use in their classrooms later, if you will. So especially like even creating videos or things like that, if you will, for future sessions. So we connect with teachers all over the United States and the world now, providing these free teacher training resources. What they want, if they want to schedule a student session with us, they can do so online. They just request the date and time that they want. We give them their first or second choice, whatever we can. We do have 6 distance learning booths, what you will, these mock-ups of mission control, and our 1 eLab facility currently. We're thinking of expanding into a second eLab facility too. So we try to accommodate their first or second choices so that we can, if they want it at 9:10 on Tuesday, it starts at 9:10. So that's how we work that program. And that's in terms of scheduling and how we basically help them understand what the program's all about, because it's not just the video conference event. All of those lesson plans, all the materials, all the curriculum that's out there is readily available at all times for teachers. So the cost is always that's always an issue, because of course in education today we just can't walk around it anymore. Our missions, our premier learning experiences, our curriculum packages, they do have a premier price tag with them. The e-mission program, for example, is $550 per e-mission, but if a school or a district schedules 10 or more in an academic year, we reduce that to $400 per mission. These missions can accommodate up to 30 students, or depending if you have a few more or a few less, we accommodate the mission for that as well. Except for our Storm E mission is $200 because it's only a 1 hour video conference. and our eLab programs are also $200 each because they're a 1-hour video conference. What we also provide at our Challenger Learning Center is my background, and part of my job is to help administrators and teachers get this program even if they have funding issues. So I work collaboratively with them, helping them write grants, figuring out where these sources are, trying to hook them up with partners in education in the business industry that has education outreach dollars. So we work constantly because we know the dollars always rule when we're talking about programming.
Okay, that is, and that's one of the things that, we are talking about because we have, in real life visits where, we pay for the kids to go to the zoos or museums and things. And so I wanted to kind of showcase there are opportunities that we can use technology. So we're actually subtracting away, the cost of the bus and that transportation. So we have what's left here in that $550 for the emissions. For people to understand, that's the block of time of the commander, but it's also that, let me see how you called it, the communication platform and driving the data. So it really is that complete immersive environment in addition to the curriculum that they would need.
Right. They get the curriculum online as well as the training sessions are provided free and as many as they need. For example, if they want to train their 6th grade teachers on one day and their 7th grade teachers on another day, we provide that professional development free of charge. It's also it's kind of like absorbed into the cost of the programs. Now, just so you know, the cost of the programs and working with these educators and administrators, we know how the budgets work too at these institutions. It's not like you can just drop in $500 into a program or $550 into a program right now because you have to project out. So in that transitional period while they're trying to learn where they can gain this these finances or the economy to do this, we work with them by providing them perhaps matching grants or things like that we can help them in their initial year. So we wouldn't want to discourage anyone from trying the program and thinking that the cost is going to be prohibitive, because we're working with teachers and administrators every day trying to help them at the forefront, trying to get that done.
Okay, that is fantastic, because I think as you participate in it, I must tell you there are 2 learning experiences I've had in my personal life that really have stuck with me. And one was when I got my master's online through an online master's program in 2000. So think about all the technologies we did not have in 2000 for online learning, but it was through Pepperdine, and it was a hybrid mixture. So we had face-to-face and online with news groups. There's no Skype, no anything like that. But it was amazing how much I learned. And it had to do with kind of that structure of the environment and the interactions. And that's the other thing. I was struck when we did the Operation Montserrat. It was the structure of the online environment plus the video conferencing that just creates this, it's really like magic. The teachers, I could not get them to stop. And you did. We had a successful mission. There was no loss of life. But yes, it was hard to even get them to leave for lunch that day, Commander Frank. Put me a little behind schedule there.
That's fun, and that's what that inspiration they probably took back to the classroom and tried to figure out, how can I capitalize on this type of learning environment in my everyday teaching. So we're also looking forward, Roxanne, and we're so excited because we're creating a program called eTech Teach, which is a professional development component for teachers to figure out how to flip the classroom. Certainly that's the new buzzword out there, right? We're going to try and flip the classroom using videos, using other alternative methods of technology to try and figure out how to maximize the face time that we have with our students, that one-on-one in the classroom. And what we're doing is trying to create now, this is in the initial stages of development here, how to do that and in the best way to provide these teachers kind of a jump start, if you will. So if they connect with us for perhaps a 2-hour professional development on this flipped learning styles, they're going to see all sorts of really cool ways to use all these new technologies, all these iPad apps for the best and the quickest bonus in that classroom. Because certainly it's all really fun to learn something. It's much more fun to take it home and to do it, or to use these technologies with their students. And that's what we're looking for now. We're really excited about that new program. We're working on that currently.
That is fantastic. Now, Commander Frank, as we wrap up, it is, I tell all of our folks, this is your shameless self-promotion time of the program. You did mention you have like 8,000 teachers or members on your mailing list. So tell us, how can we join your mailing list? Can we find you on all the regular places, the YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest? Where are you, Commander Frank?
We're here at Wheeling Jesuit University. We are online at www.e-missions.net. We're on Facebook. If you want to click on Facebook to find some information. You can also email me at kfrank@cet.edu, especially if you'd like to get things started in your school or district, and I can help you kind of jumpstart that, if you will. There's also our contact information is on our website. We have a full-time staff of 8 very energized, highly energized and motivated full-time staff, and we have over 13 part-time staff members here that help deliver the program. So we're here for these teachers to help them. That's part of our job. We love connecting with students. We have 100 students, over 100 students here in our center today actually visiting. It's very difficult to not be energized and excited about education and learning in this environment. So we'd like to share that with teachers across the country and even the world. So we'd like them to contact us to get things started for them.
Now, you did one thing we didn't mention. How do we connect with you? Is it only through the 323, the Polycom, Tamberg, Cisco Life Size, or how can I connect my class? I know teachers, I forgot to ask that.
That's all right. We connect with all of the above. We connect however it works best for the school. And we do have Robert Moore. He's a premier technology coordinator here. We're so fortunate to have him. He works with the schools, the districts, the teachers to make sure that the technology is seamless, because you don't want the technology to be the focus of what's going on. It's almost like it's a backdrop, if you will. Certainly we're not going to be struggling the whole time trying to figure out how to maintain the video conference. That's all worked out ahead of time with the Test Connect. And Robert, his job is to work with schools, districts, and teachers to make sure that's a pleasant experience. And he's above and beyond anything that we could expect for technology. He's wonderful. You've worked with him, I'm sure, Roxanne.
Yes, that is, it's always nice to have that extra helping hand, because you're right. Any of our ideas that use technology to bring them to the implementation or the classroom execution, if we have to struggle with the technology, I know for me as a teacher, even, in whatever setting I'm teaching, I'm focused on what are my learning goals, how are my students reacting, and trying to adjust that. I don't want to have to be troubleshooting the technology at the same time. I want to be focused on making sure my students are learning what I'm teaching them.
Oh, exactly. And we lose a little bit of credibility, don't we, when we're up in front of the classroom and we're struggling with something. The students are kind of like, what the heck is this? Well, we do that all ahead of time, and that's why it's, also helpful for the teachers too, that they can learn and maybe use some of this technology for other methods, for connecting with other classrooms, if you will, at another time, not just for our missions.
All right. Well, Commander Frank, you have given us a lot of wonderful information. So I want to thank you so much for being with us here on our Content Connections.
My pleasure, Roxanne. This is Commander Frank signing off. Everybody have a great day. Over and out, right?
Over and out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roxanne.